everybody, welcome back to GamerNerdz. I'm Monica Jolie. Today the nerds take on the role of Bruce Wayne and his alter ego Batman as the world's greatest detective. And once again take on classic villains like the Joker, Penguin, and Hugo Strange. Let's see what another night in the life of the Dark Knight is like in Batman Arkham City.
Alright, so let's get into the story of Batman Arkham City, which was released by Rocksteady for the Xbox 360 and the PS3.
Soon coming to PC.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a direct sequel to Arkham Asylum that came out. Those of you who didn't play Arkham Asylum, stop watching, go play it. What the hell? I don't know how they managed to trump the story from Arkham Asylum. I'm already giving you guys my love for the story early on in this review, but yes, I loved it. When I first heard about Arkham City, I said to myself, can they replicate what they did in Arkham Asylum? Is it even possible? Can you get any better than Arkham Asylum? This is the Batman game, and yes, they've done it twice, and I'm amazed.
Based on his enthusiasm, it should be no surprise if you guys have been following us since our first episode. Arkham Asylum was the first game we reviewed. It probably is, and it was, and still is, one of the best superhero games out there. There is no surprise that Rocksteady kind of hit out of the park again. Basically, the story starts off with Bruce Wayne having a conference about the crime situation in Gotham, and this newly created section of Gotham called Arkham City. It's headed by a guy named Dr. Hugo Strange. For some reason, knows who Batman is.
It is kind of explained if you do get into to start reading the manuscripts and whatever you find in the game, then yeah, it is kind of explained. Like the first game, you have different villains from the comic books, from the movies. If you follow the animated series, and I said this a lot in the Arkham Asylum review, the first game did feel like a lost episode of the animated series. This one again, it feels like an even better, it's like a lost episode. It took a lot from the comics, took a lot from the animated series, took a lot from the movies. Honestly, this is probably, in my opinion, the best Batman media release, period.
I'd say it's the best Batman video game ever. I don't know about media altogether. There are some graphic novels that I found more interesting. The story essentially runs that Batman is stuck in Arkham City. There are villains that are running about. There's something called Protocol 10 that Dr. Hugo Strange keeps mentioning. Obviously, you're Batman, you are the world's greatest detective, and you gotta figure out what the hell's going on. I think the beginning is kind of like, I'm not sure where it was going. One thing with Arkham City is that there are just so many villains. There's no surprise the Joker's in this, and he's still really sick from the first game. I was actually surprised to see the Penguin, who is voiced by Nolan North, who actually voices just about everybody else in this game. There's a squabble between them at the beginning. There are some people from the League of Assassins, there's some other villains we won't reveal. The beginning kind of slow to start off. I think towards the end when things really start moving, then the story gets kind of clear. There's a whole section dedicated towards Catwoman, we'll talk about in a second. Actually, the very last section, literally towards the final boss, the story really comes out there. My only problem with the story is that probably just too many villains.
I've read a lot of people complaining about that, saying that, you know,
I'm not complaining.
Well, it's a fact, saying that there's a lot of villains. You start off the game and right off the bat, you give them this huge city to explore, and they're saying, well, it feels like it's a little too much. I disagree. I mean, yeah, in the first game, Arkham Asylum, it was almost staged out level per level until eventually you were able to explore the whole area. This one, right off the bat, you're given access to this entire area filled with villains. As soon as you start the game, you can actually start doing side quests, start getting phone calls from someone. Okay, there you go, Zaz. I'm not gonna reveal any enemies. Before you even start the game, you can start going on different tangents. It can feel overwhelming, but I do feel that's the best part because that's what the Batman series, especially in the comics, has always been about. The different villains, the Batman's interaction with them. I do like how they explored it in this one. Batman makes compromises. He makes, I guess, uneasy alliances with some people.
Essentially, Batman is also in a situation where his life is on the line. There are some major villains from Batman's rogues gallery that you do team up with. Some from the first game, some new ones. There's so much to do at the beginning. We both agreed initially is that we didn't really follow the story. I actually didn't know where the story was going for a little bit because I was just totally preoccupied with the other stuff. A good point I've read is it's like Zelda almost. Arkham City is the main hub area, and then all the individual levels are like dungeons. When I finished the game, I wrote him right away. Shocking ending, I didn't see it coming. When you finally deal with Hugo Strange, I thought the game would end there, and it didn't. Story can get kind of muddled and all. Try to focus. The ending is pretty spectacular. Beginning is so-so, but I think it was pretty solid for second effort.
This is a Batman game, so Rocksteady is dealing with the Batman license, the Batman characters. If you play the game, they do in a sense have their own take on what happens in the Batman universe. Things will happen that will shock you. That'll make you say, that happened? They did that? What?
The ending in particular. I've been playing games for a while, we both have, and I did not picture. It's like, what the hell do they do now? There's gonna be some way they're gonna figure out how to rectify the events of the ending of this game, but when it happened, I watched all the credits and I was like, oh my god, they actually did that. Kudos to Rocksteady, you're really pulling out of left field. It's more this.
It's darker.
Yeah. The first one kind of alludes to people dying, but this one there's like people, there's bodies floating, guys with their faces being torn off. Someone's pet named Tiny, which was terrifying, and I didn't like that part of the game. It's definitely a mature title. I think that's the way Batman should be. I'm glad this is not like Batman and Robin Batman, aka Joel Schumacher's Batman with the nipple suit and all that. This story definitely follows more of the Frank Miller type of Dark Knight. If you like Batman, and who doesn't, he is the world's great detective, and this is the world's best superhero game. Get into the gameplay behind Batman Arkham City. If you played the first game, which probably everyone has because it sold so well, essentially the structure of what Batman can do in this game is pretty much the same. So you have combat scenarios, detective scenarios, puzzle scenarios thanks to Riddlers, an inane amount of Riddlers, which we'll talk about in a second. Some of the new features now, primarily with the combat. Originally in the first, Batman could take on a group of enemies one at a time. One of the newest things about this is that you can take on 30, 40 guys at once. You can counter 4 guys at the same time. The fighting is just as smooth. Basically with a single button press in a direction, you can make Batman a pinball. It's badass. Knock one guy out, counter one guy, jump to one guy, break his gun, shoot the bat clock, grab someone, jump over them, use your stun gun, and then stomp someone on their face. It's brutal, but it's super smooth. You take your time to learn it. The combat is, oh, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
The game starts off open city area. The second you just glide, you're like,
oh yeah, that's so cool. The first scene where Batman has to get his suit, he puts a suit on and then it just pans over Arkham City. That was badass.
You go to a building, jump off, glide, zip line. You feel just like Batman. Extremely geeky to say, but you know what? I felt like Batman. I was Batman for that good 4 days that I massacred this game. The combat is so fluid. They actually included a new character, Catwoman. She has her own story and everything. Well, a story that's adjacent to the Batman story.
You have to buy the game new to get access to her content, or you have to buy it separately. It kind of follows the Batman story in parallel. You should definitely play it because it'll clear up a lot of things, but her gameplay, her combat specifically, is very similar to Batman's.
The button layout, the things she does, it's very similar to Counters, but her animations, the fluidity, and then she's different from Batman. She can't zip on around. She uses her whip though to kind of swing.
Which is the longest whip I've ever seen. Seriously, that thing changes length. So Batman can glide around with his wings, whatever, that's really cool and all. But Catwoman, you have to latch onto things with her whip. Some distances, it makes no sense, but she can, it's cool and all, but I understand that.
The Riddler challenges, in my opinion, there's maybe a little too many.
400.
Those question marks to find.
Crazy.
Some of them are really challenging. It's not like the first one, lying around, you found them. I guess the hard thing you had to do was maybe climb something. Some of them are hard. You know, some of them require you to use the gadgets you find throughout the game.
Gadgets.
At one point, I literally wanted to say, screw that, but then I still did it because...
So you're just a, you know, a follower.
Achievement for it.
There was a big portion of Arkham Asylum that was focused on detective mode. Detective mode is still in this game. Try to avoid using it because you'll just miss out on the beauty. We'll talk about graphics in a second. You'll have to do some detective research in a defined area. Batman has the coolest features because he can track angle of a bullet being shot, how cold something is, the location of a phone call with an entire city. So you have all that detective stuff, and then you just have the stuff to do in Arkham City. There's Riddler missions, AR, augmented reality training simulations, which are really difficult, side missions. Once you beat the game, you can go back and play on a hard difficulty, find all your Miss Riddler stuff, and you can also play as Catwoman.
When you beat the game, you can actually continue the game that you already started, collecting items, whatever. It also unlocks a New Game Plus that you can play adjacent. I actually started playing New Game Plus the second I beat the normal game.
This is the first time Voice has played a game twice.
Literally, I finished the game, I was like, okay, time to go play the new game. The challenge rooms do return. He played more of the challenge rooms than I did.
Beat them all already.
You do encounter Robin.
Briefly. Robin is a character in this game. Actually, he is DLC. He actually has the exact same challenge rooms as Batman. There's Nightwing and Catwoman. Kind of disappointed that they didn't change that aspect. Literally is the same challenge. Their movesets are completely different. Batman, when he takes someone down, like a multiple takedown, he's breaking elbows. Catwoman's scratching and slitting your throat. Robin has this extended nightstick, slams you in the nuts. You need to watch the animations of the counters. It can depend if there's a guy behind you, if there's 3 guys around you. Everyone has their own unique animations. Some of the stuff is so painful. Animators went crazy.
I was a little sad when you encounter Robin in the game. It's only for a single cutscene and you can't actually play with him.
He loves Robin.
They bring out Robin and then they bring out Nightwing.
Nightwing's not in the game though.
He's not in the game, he's DLC.
Character.
Whenever I get to see Batman, Robin, and Nightwing at the same time in the same area, in the same comic, the same game.
There's a lot to do. Play the main game, beat the main game. You have the challenge rooms, you have the Riddler content. So I definitely think you'll be at it for quite some time.
Suffice to say, I love this gameplay. So let's get into the AV of Batman Arkham City. This is a beautiful looking game, improved on this from the first game. One of the things I remember complaining about in the first game was the faces of some of the enemies, repetitive bad guys. I got annoyed with that in the first game. This time around, I have no complaints. Everything about this game is beautiful. Batman's suit, again like the first game, Batman goes through a whole lot of crap, and by the end of the game, his suit is ripped to shreds almost.
He's bleeding, he's beat up and stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
what makes Batman Arkham City really come to life is the city itself. The city feels alive, it's populated with all these, no, it's true.
It's not alive. It's like covered in grime. It's like a scary place to be.
As you're gliding around and ziplining, you get to listen to bad guys talking to themselves.
Yeah, that was actually a little annoying. Batman can tune in to just like every frequency possible. There's like 3 different frequencies coming up on the screen. Kind of got a bit overwhelming. The city it's beautiful in its own way, but it's not a beautiful place to be. The very first time you don your Batman suit within Arkham City, it's this beautiful panning shot. It's gorgeous. You can find the site where Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. You can sit there for a few minutes. There's this like panning camera shot and some music playing to evoke some emotion. Light snow falling, it's melting on his suit, and I was like, wow. They went crazy with the details. Besides, in the main areas, you have mini dungeons, the museum, Gotham City, police department, the steel mills. They're very dark, but they have their own unique environmental theme. This is an Unreal Engine game, and it really does look really, really nice.
From the first game, I was completely in love with Harley Quinn.
Literally.
So in the sequel, they changed her outfit. She went from the
that was the first thing you would say, oh my god.
Skin tight, like, wow.
Another really strong point, the animations. This is one of the games where lip syncing is done very well. Even the standard villains, which you just beat up mercilessly. Seriously, there's one portion of the game where you're interrogating guys to find Riddler. You hold him by his neck, slams him in the head, boot on face. Another huge thing that makes this game just fantastic is sound. The Batman of my generation is Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill is the Joker. They reprise their roles and it's just, there's no better voice acting. For some reason, Joker gets your personal cell and he calls you and leaves these long, drawn out messages and they're hilarious. I've heard this is his last attempt as Joker. I don't believe it. Nolan North, who is Mr. Video Game voiceover, voices the Penguin and a whole lot of other guys. Penguin has this super English Cockney accent. I didn't know it was him. Another high point, which I talk about every game, but...
Wait. Is it gonna be the music?
Surprise! The first time I booted the game up, the main theme music just took me back. It's like Dark Knight theme by Hans Zimmer with its own twist. And the soundtrack is amazing. Music in this game, oh my god, it's so good. The music during the credits is the most ominous credits ever, which by the way are the longest credits in history of video gaming. It has to be the whole package to be a good Batman piece of media. This one just blows out of the park.
I think he's excited for both of us. Yeah, I have nothing else to add.
I love music.
So AV?
Yeah, good stuff. As you mentioned before, there is a lot to do in Arkham City aside from the main storyline, which is about 10 to 12 hours depending on how you play. There's the New Game Plus, counter indicators are gone completely, the enemy set layouts are different, much more challenging. Clearly after the game's finished, you want to go through all the Riddler challenges. There are Riddler challenges for Catwoman as well, and then you have Predator and combat rooms as well. For Batman, Catwoman, Robin DLC, and they just released a Nightwing DLC. Have been hints that there will be additional single player content. There is one particular villain you'll meet in this game. Shh, we won't tell you who it is. Batman actually mentions that he'll fight him another night. I wouldn't be surprised if he's DLC or possibly villain in the third game.
On Rocksteady, if you're listening to this, is me pleading to you. Robin or Nightwing story DLC.
No, it's called Batman Arkham City, not Robin.
Please.
I'm falling Batman because I want to be him because I can't.
The way the game ends,
what's left?
I don't know.
When they first revealed the game, they revealed all these extra costumes you can wear. The animated Batman, which is hilarious to see in the super detailed grimy world. Big white eye. The Dark Knight, there is...
There's the fat Batman.
Well, fine fat man, but he actually is buff. The Batman Beyond skin, Batman Sinestro outfit from the Green Lantern. Catwoman has her own outfits, animated and long Halloween. Robin has his as Red Robin, animated Robin.
You do have the animated Nightwing as well. I cannot play as the animated
version.
It's
cool though. It like, you know, you're fighting like a huge titan or one of those one-armed monster guys. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna get you, Robin, and you're just like, oh, doo-doo. You have to get the Robin DLC just to see the moves you can do. That stick man, he messes you up.
No, they don't kill anyone, but we know
everyone's dead.
We know they're dead.
You stepping on people's necks and dropping them off buildings and stuff, they're dead. You know, they're dead.
I think we like this game.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next time on GamerNerdz.
Alright, so let's get into the story of Bartman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're reviewing Bartman. This is a Super Nintendo title. For some reason, Voice is playing Bartman. And we have our clip to the end.
Wow. That was terrible. That was throw Bartman.
That actually was a good game though, Bartman.
It was
Bart's Nightmare.